What is up, record nerds of the internet? The other day, our friend CheapAudioMan's dropped a video, and it's called I Bought the Cheapest Turntable at Walmart, You Should Too. And after watching that, I think that I'm either crazy, or stupid, or ignorant, or some combination of all those things, because I totally disagree.
A.M.
So I should say that his original video includes his kids, which I will be cutting out of this video because I don't want to be the one putting people's kids out on the internet. So if this video seems choppy at parts, that's why I'm cutting that stuff out. Let's go.
Crosley turntables are universally hated amongst audiophiles.
I am playing this back at 1.75, which is usually what I watch all videos at. I'm going to bring it back to normal because most people are normal and not all people are crazy like me.
They're cheap. They'll ruin your records. I hear that all of the time in the comments. But are they really that bad?
Okay, so we all know and either accept or despise Crosley. They are cheap. They are turntables that will ruin your records. And we'll talk about that later, maybe? I think that might come up again. We'll find out.
I had to find out for myself. So I went to Walmart and bought the cheapest Crosley turntable I could find.
Ah, here they are.
We got the Cruiser Premier, $44.96.
Now, $44.96 is absolutely absurd. That is the cost of a lot of single records in 2024. So the idea that you would buy a $50 record and then buy a $50 turntable is insane to me. We shall continue.
Journey. Victrola.
So I think I did a video on a Victrola branded piece of crap, and I will link that at the end of the video where you can watch that if you can stomach it. So there's another one of their products right there, one of their fine products.
We gotta get one of these cheap ones. You like that one?
Enhanced sound quality with upgraded speakers and needle.
Going with No Doubt. I know it's like a best of, but I don't have any No Doubt on vinyl. So this is $37, which is $7 cheaper than the turntable.
There you go. So $7 more than that No Doubt record. You can buy a whole turntable, and not just a turntable. It also is your phono preamp. It is also your regular preamp, your power amp, and your speakers. How does that make any sense to anyone? Let's continue.
I'm gonna put it on. What could possibly go wrong? What?
It's actually not built terribly. I mean,
How is that not built terribly? Look at all this, just like plasticky garbage. The good old red cartridge of death attached. I don't know. Let's hear his justification for why it's not built crappily.
it's plastic, but I've had some very expensive turntables in here that cost 10 times as much. Some of those turntables had like kind of that really brittle feeling plastic.
Which ones? How are you quantifying really expensive? I find this a dubious statement to make.
Tiny, it's small. You can tell that there's some quality control issues in the corners with the vinyl wrap, but for the most part, this thing looks pretty nice. This is
No, it doesn't. Let's continue.
very cute. It's got like some spring
There you go. It's cute. I will accept that as a descriptor of this. It's cute. It is adorable.
on here too to keep the vibration down. Has electronic speed control, 33, 45, 78. Even has auto stop Tone arm lifter, the whole thing. It's got all of the features. It has a pitch knob, volume knob. Can't believe it. I kind of like this thing.
Based on what?
I haven't listened to it yet. Even has a little holder for your 78s.
I think he means 45.
Very, very cool. The point is, as far as putting this together, there is no putting it together.
Okay, so he's going to make a chart here, which we'll dissect that as it goes. But the first one is ease of use, and he's going to create this little bar graph. It's an ease of use. I think he gives that a 10. I would agree. A full system that you can pull out of a box and start playing records immediately, that it doesn't get any easier than that. And it does get a lot harder than that, depending on the setup. So 100% agree. 10 out of 10. Ease of use. I asked where this Stranger Things record was bought. I don't know how much it was, but I'm going to guess it was also around $30, aka almost the entire price of this setup. So when you add both of those records together, you have already spent more than your entire setup to listen to records. Let's continue.
This thing was a snap to get going. Literally, I just had to untwist the twisty tie around the tone arm, plug it in, put a record on, and just swing the tone arm. It starts automatically and even stops automatically. And music came out of the speakers. We'll get to that later. There's also a headphone amp, which works fine. The Cruiser Premier is jam-packed with features. You have Bluetooth, you have a headphone jack, you have a 3.5 millimeter analog input, you have RCA line outs, and you can beam this thing to any type of Bluetooth device, like a set of powered speakers, like a set of headphones, like a Weem streamer.
Okay, so he gives the Crosley 10 out of 10 with features. It has a lot of features. It also has a lot of features for $45. That says something. And it's not a good thing. We shall continue.
Build quality. When I'm considering...
Oh boy, build quality. Here we go.
The price, I spent more on records than I actually did on the turntable. Or
yes, not a good thing.
We're going to call it a record player. At $45, it's not terrible. I think if you...
You know what? It occurs to me that there's a certain chance that you're going to hear me talk like this and say that I'm being snobby and I'm looking down on stuff. I could see how you could think that. However, once we get to the end of this, I'm going to explain why I think this is all very dubious. And I don't think it does what he thinks, which is gets more people into the hobby. I think it's actually detrimental to getting people into the hobby. But we'll continue.
Move this around a lot, there's going to be some of the vinyl's going to come up. If you bang this around, it's going to show a little bit of wear. There's a portable turntable for $45. So for that, I'm going to give build quality a pass. If anything, I would say it's above average.
What? Holy crap. Above average. What's below average if this is above average? At this point is when I start wondering if this is a paid video and that Crosley is sponsoring this somehow. And I don't want to cast aspersions at Cheap Audio Man, but I can't... you tell me how this pile of garbage, this landfill waste waiting to happen, explain to me how that has above average build quality. What would you consider average? Let's consider something average. An average turntable might be, what, like a project? That's like, I would say that is average. If you're considering the entire gamut of turntables. I don't even think, like, even if you consider the other turntables they sell at Walmart, like an Audio-Technica whatever, that is also not a great record player, but it's clearly built better than this. So I don't know by what metric you're using to get to the point where you're saying this is above average. So I don't know what to do with that. We shall continue. So he's saying this is a 7.5? Is that, or is that an 8? It's hard to tell. Whatever it is, it's way too high.
Value. This is a difficult
Uh-oh. Here we go.
one. It depends on how you define value. Is it sound quality for the money? Is it feature set for the money? Is it both for the money? We're gonna get to sound quality here at the end, so make sure you stick around for that. Value is a moving target though. Your mileage is gonna vary depending upon what you place a premium on. Portability, ease of use, features, and the...
I don't think that portability should even be something that's factored in. If you want something portable, you have a thing that's portable in your pocket that plays music. You don't need a record player. I don't see the value in being able to carry around a record player and then all the cumbersome records you have to carry along with it. It makes no sense. I don't understand why that would factor into the value whatsoever. Let's see what else he has to say.
low price of $45.
Okay, yeah. Let's see what he gives it. Oh. Is that a 9? Yes, a 9 for value. Now this, again, I differ very greatly here. I think this has literally 0 value. It, to me, actually has negative value, if I'm being completely honest. And the reason for this is that, well, wait until the sound quality. Then we'll talk about value.
Yeah, I'm hooking up a $45 record player to a $3,200 integrated amp, going through a $1,000 pair of speakers. So I'm connecting the RCA from the turntable into this very nice Cambridge Audio Evo 150, the DeLorean edition. We're gonna see how it sounds. I got a very capable, very talented cameraman behind the camera right now.
So basically at this point, he is plugging his $45 complete all-in-one system into a significantly more expensive system because it has RCA outs, which I'm going to guess comes after the phono preamp. So again, you're still using the phono preamp of this wonderful suitcase little guy right there.
See how this thing sounds? We got it rolling. Police going. Wish I could have you hear this. Not great. Not great at all. I wasn't really expecting it to be good. I can't even say that it's like not terrible. Sounds pretty bad.
You can't say that it's not terrible. So what he's saying is it is terrible.
I mean, it sounds kind of like if I had Bluetooth, really terrible Bluetooth, and it only sounds marginally better out of big $1,000 speakers than it does out of the small speakers.
Okay. So the point of listening to records is to get a sound, I would assume okay, I'm going to concede that maybe there's multiple reasons to buy records. For me, it's the sound. I do it for mostly the sound. I'm also in it for sort of the ritual of it. So if this has poor sound quality, so bad that it scores a 1, not even a 2, and he's plugging it into a reasonably expensive system, and he's still getting poor sound quality out of it, that's a significant problem. I want to see what his conclusion is, because this is where I think we differ. Again, if sound quality is bad, I would say everything else is worthless. The number of features it has, it doesn't matter, because all of them suck. The build quality, again, I would give this a 1, maybe a 2. Definitely not a whatever this is. Ease of use. Yes, it's easy to use. Essentially what this is landfill. This is landfill. Let's see what his conclusion is.
This Crosley turntable right here is not meant for us. And when I say us, I mean audiophiles, people into the hi-fi hobby. It's not ours. This is meant for everybody else. And because of that, we should celebrate the Crosley. We should absolutely be doing backflips. We should be buying these for all of our friends who aren't into the hobby. We should be using this to recruit new audiophiles. And I know it doesn't sound good. It sounds pretty
I have a lot to say, then I'm going to wait until he's done.
terrible, but that's not the point. The point is this device, the Crosley Cruiser Premier, or any of the other high quality Crosley record players, can be used to get people to listen to music intentionally. No random playlists, no skipping tracks. The user of this device will take a vinyl record out of the sleeve, and then place it upon the platter, and then put the needle on the record. There's so many steps involved with getting sound to come out of this Crosley Cruiser Premier. And that's the point that I'm making here. Every single person that has this record player, in order to get music out of it, will have to be involved, actively, not passively listening. And because of that, I think Crosley gets too much hate. I started in 1982 or 1983 with a knockoff Walkman, which I'm positive probably sounded like complete and utter garbage. But now I make a living out of talking about hi-fi products. So it's not about where you start, and it's not even about where you end up. But somebody that either gets this as a gift or goes out and buys a Crosley turntable 10, 20, 30 years from now may make the next best turntable, may make the next best amplifier, DAC, streamer, whatever it is. So we can't get upset about where the journey begins. We should just celebrate the fact that the journey began in the first place. Thank you so
Okay. So the journey begins with horrible sound quality. But if someone's getting into vinyl records, they've been told that vinyl records have superior sound quality. Why would you spend, if you're paying $9, $10 a month for Apple Music or Spotify or whatever, why would you then decide that you're going to go out and spend $30, $40 to buy a new record that's going to sound significantly worse than if you were just going to get a Bluetooth speaker, any garbage Bluetooth speaker, and play music off your phone? You're more likely to become disenfranchised with the idea of listening to records if you buy a $45 turntable. This is my speculation, and I base this on my reality as a kid. I am 48, almost 49 years old. I grew up having cassettes and vinyl as my only two options to listen to, and I chose cassettes for convenience. And I chose cassettes because vinyl was a pain in the butt. You had to take care of it. It sounded bad. It skipped. You had all kinds of issues, right? As time went on, I got into punk rock music. And at the time, late 80s, and even into the 90s, there was a lot of punk music that if you wanted, it was only available on record. So I had to go and I had to get a turntable, and that turntable was not good. It was similar to those Audio-Technica 120, 100, however much those Audio-Technica turntables are at Walmart. It was about that price. Plugged into, what everyone had back in the 90s, those all-in-one sort of stereo units. And it didn't sound good. I was never impressed with sound quality of vinyl. It was the necessity because of the music that I listened to. That I listened to that music, and if I wanted to hear all that music, I had to buy that music on vinyl, which means I had to have a way to play the vinyl, which is what kept me in the hobby. That's not the circumstance that people are coming to vinyl in 2024. People are being told that vinyl sounds superior to MP3s and CDs that they gave up. And so if someone hears that and they go and they buy a $45 turntable and spend $100 on records at Walmart, and they come home and they put it on and it sounds like absolute garbage and it's unlistenable, is that person going to continue with the hobby, or is that person going to consider maybe taking that stuff back? Or are they going to consider, why did I do this in the beginning? Vinyl sounds like crap. Now, vinyl is not an inexpensive hobby anymore. It used to be where you can go to Goodwill and you could buy Pink Floyd records for $2. That's not the case anymore. There was also a time where if you wanted to hear certain music, not just punk music, it only came out on vinyl. You couldn't find it. You didn't have YouTube to go search it and then listen to it. You had to actually find a piece of plastic sitting in a bin somewhere. And then you needed a means to play it. That's not the case either anymore. This is purely luxury. This is a luxury of first world sort of proportions that no one needs to do. No one needs to collect records. No one needs to listen to records. No one needs to pay $40 for a record. And I see this as a thing that's either going to drive people away from the hobby, or it's going to increase the amount of junk in landfills. No one needs this plastic in the world. That whole thing is made out of plastic, except for the tiny little aluminum arm that the tone arm is made out of. If you want to get people into vinyl, the best thing to do, if you have a good system, invite people over to your house. And I am fairly agoraphobic, almost to a certain degree, where I don't want people coming over to my house. I don't even want you to see my face. And so that's the reality. Get them to hear vinyl the way it was meant to be. The thing that got me to buy a good record player is I went to my friend's house to trade records, and he had, it wasn't a great setup, but it was better than mine. And guess what? His record player sounded good. It sounded good. So I'm like, I need to up my game. So I went out and I bought a Music Hall MMF5. That's how I got into better sounding vinyl. It wasn't because I was like, oh, my crappy, it was a Sony turntable sounds bad. I need to get something better. I didn't know that better existed. No one's going to know who buys a $45 turntable that if they would have spent maybe $300 to put together a system, that it would actually sound pretty decent. So telling people that they should go out and spend $50 or less on a complete setup is sort of, I think, the opposite of what we should be doing if we want to get people into the hobby. The hobby is still growing somehow. As you may or may not know, I spent almost 10 years owning a record store. I started in 1999. My thought was we're going to be a store that caters to vinyl, and no one wanted vinyl. And so we went out of business in 2008. CDs were dead. Vinyl hadn't yet come back. And, you know, my real job became my only job. What was my point to all that?
75 years later.
I don't remember. I just think that these things are more detrimental to the hobby than they are for good. Because I think that if they had someone to usher them in to better setups, the hobby would be better off for it. You know, I really like Cheap Audio Man. I've watched a ton of his videos over the years. He's not super vinyl intensive, so I don't really watch as much of his stuff as I used to. I'm also not usually in the demographic that he's catering to. He's sort of at a lower range than me. But like when I was putting together my son's setup, I watched his stuff pretty extensively because he's got a lot of videos around like the sort of the lower end, but relative to stereo equipment. And he does a great job with that, and he's entertaining, and seems like a really great guy. He's got cute kids, and I don't know, this just doesn't make sense. Can you explain it to me? Because I don't understand. And maybe I'm wrong. If you got into vinyl from a cheap Crosley $45 turntable and now you have something more substantial, you know, like a Project or Rega or a VPI or something cool, let me know, because I feel like it's a dead end. I don't think it's going to lead where he thinks it's going to lead. Anyway, that's what I have to say. Hope no one's too mad at me. Have a good day.